Here we go. It is markets in the morning. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Welcome to Markets in the Morning. Today is Wednesday, January 17th, 2024. This is Markets in the Morning, where we take a look at the price action of the cryptocurrency market, including the Bitcoin price chart, the altcoin market. Look over there at the stock market as it gets set to open up in 3 minutes, along with looking at the DXY, or the US dollar currency index, along with precious metals like gold. Of course, lastly, we wrap it up by taking a look over there at any type of financial news that is going on to kick off our day, and any crypto news. And then, of course, hop into the chat and chat with you guys for about 30 minutes afterwards. And then we go on our merry way as we get ready for the day to kick off. So looking at Bitcoin, we're at $42,400 over there. Looks like we're going to have a negative opening over there in the United States stock market. Dow Jones Industrial Average down 188 points, which is about 0.5%. The Nasdaq is also down 148 points, which is about 0.87%. And the S&P is down 33 points, about 0.69%. But it does not matter what the stock market is doing on a Wednesday, because we're halfway through the week, everybody. Almost back to the weekend.
It is Wednesday, my dude. It is Wednesday, my
Happy Wednesday, everybody. If it's your first time tuning into Markets in the Morning, and I do know I have a lot of eyes on me right now. On Wednesdays, we do always just have a goofball fun time here. We're halfway through the week. No need to be thinking about, it's just the middle of the week. Nope, we're halfway through. It's halfway to the weekend. So happy Wednesday, everybody. Let's go ahead and dive on into the markets and see what's going on this beautiful Wednesday. Hopefully, if you're in the United States, that the Arctic blast is finally starting to work its way out. But otherwise, let's just dive on in. All right, Bitcoin, $42,480. Altcoin market still just holding steady right there. No big changes occurring in there. Ethereum still holding steady. XRP still holding on top of the 54-cent level after hitting it a couple of weeks ago and just meandering around in here. Dow Jones Industrial Average. These are the things we'll watch as the market does open. It's set to open pretty negative. I mean, not terrifying negative or anything, but about 0.5% or so. I don't think there's any leader. Let's see. Everything is in the red except for Netflix, which is up 0.75%, and United Health, which is up 0.18% from that list. Otherwise, we'll see mostly a red opening as yields start to gain a little bit in here. You know what? I don't have the... I know you guys just love it every single day when I show you this. The federal funds rate expectations for the next meeting still sitting at 97% probabilities of being paused, and then the rate cuts coming further down. Looks like it's shifting more and more for that pause, closer to that pause for March 20th. We'll talk more about that, and there's people who probably don't care about this, but this goes along with my whole thesis of what's going on with Bitcoin. We get back into retracement levels. This is where all the stall out happens in that. And of course, there's just people who love fundamental analysis. It's not huge for me to focus so much on fundamental analysis, but it shows the confluence of the things actually ending up happening for timing and events to occur. Now, as for Bitcoin, of course, I'm the what I am on Twitter. Hated. But it's of course, that's never what I want to be. There are people who love to play the villain character on Twitter. That is absolutely not what I want to be. I want to be the people's champ. But, of course, the retail sentiment has flipped. Things that, we talked about yesterday and still that I'm looking at today. Where is it? Why have I lost it? Where are you? You're right there. This is the launch of each of the financial products that have happened for Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin futures trading. The market definitely knew this event was coming when CME futures started. That marked the peak of the market. When we go and we look, and then we'll take that one off the screen. CME, when our other ETF that we've had, and I get it, people have definitely sold it on that. No, it doesn't matter. It's spot. Retail, normal, everyday Joes care about spot. Okay, but here is the ETF that we launched back in 2021, BITO, BITO. As you can see, it was launched at the peak of the market back in here. And then when we move over and we look at BITI, this is the short Bitcoin ETF. And this one, of course, was launched in the depths of everybody being panicked, right? So we have Luna and UST collapse. We watch all those go to zero. It's like, oh my gosh. Then you watch Celsius, Three Arrows Capital, and everybody else collapse. And then they launch an ETF during the thick of the ultimate fear levels and say, hey, how would you like to be able to short Bitcoin in an ETF? And everybody's like, yes, because we're going much, much lower. Prices stay down here for a long time. Lots of distribution happening into the ETF. Price reverses, the ETF crumbles. And so every single time we see these ETFs get launched, what ends up happening with them? They just go down. And so it's going to be inversed or you're not inversed. And this time not being any different, having expectations of this time being different means that you just have a different expectation of when they would launch an ETF, that they wouldn't launch it at literally when Grayscale hits its 702 Fibonacci retracement, which it did. It pinpoint nailed it. This is a price, Grayscale, whatever, it hasn't hit it, or Bitcoin hitting the 618, but isn't it just... Look at the volume of the day it hits the 702 retracement. Like, how could you write that script any better for something like that to occur, for these ETFs to be launched? And of course, here we are in another trading week with these ETFs, and all the narratives are really unfolding really fast on what's going to happen. I've seen like T+2 settlement and all this weird stuff for why price isn't going up, but likely a sell the news event and likely distribution happening by the banks. Today, JP Morgan was, not JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan was interviewed on CNBC, as they are at Davos. And he even, as talking about Bitcoin, dropped the S word. That's right, everybody. The S word, sugar, honey, iced tea, when referencing to Bitcoin. And I come at it from the aspect of, Bitcoiners have painted this narrative of JP Morgan is now best friends with Bitcoiners. And I said to myself, well, wouldn't they want to lure you in and dump it on you? You've been saying F the banks for 15 years. You've been saying it's a way to check out of the system. And then you openly welcome in JP Morgan, and they're telling you it's sugar, honey, iced tea. Get your narrative right. So anyway, with Bitcoin, it is just stalled out in here. And again, I just reiterate these things once again, that every financial product launched for Bitcoin has marked a reversal. And it's one thing to just sit there and say, this is the only thing. If you've watched this channel for any period of time, my thesis has been to head back into a retracement level. We get back to the retracement level. Even Grayscale hits the 702 on the day these financial products get released, and it lures retail in. That should just be a concern. It doesn't have to be that I'm the villain. If you want me to be, that's fine. But for those who are definitely in the camp of, well, yeah, you said retracement levels for a year and a half, and we hit it the day the ETF happens, but T+2 settlement, inflows. If you don't know who the exit liquidity is, it's you. That's the reality of it. So anywho, talking about CME futures and just like the thesis, right? So those are those confluence events that are happening in here, right? And so I still think we're probably going to distribute here for some time. I'm not convinced that is the low for now before we actually get a real settling event to start happening in here for Bitcoin. I think there could still be a further fall down to happen for Bitcoin before it really truly settles. But all of this fundamental stuff, and I consider the ETF fundamental stuff, And of course, the narrative is spun that it's really positive, but we know, like we go through history, it's very negative. It's a very negative event when those things do happen. And so, I get it that there's a high incentive for influencers and content creation to make it sound incredibly bullish, but the data does suggest it's an incredibly negative event when these types of things do happen, and to recognize that it did happen where it happened. What you choose to do with that information is entirely up to you. I'm just not going to be intimidated by the herd to not express it. So that's where we're at when it comes to your fundamental issues with the Bitcoin ETF. These always mark reversals, and it just so happens to happen that day. And yeah, okay. So anyway, CME futures and all that stuff, it all ties back into, how much time is left here in the United States stock market for Bitcoin. This, of course, will be the thing in the end once this thing falls apart. And if my hypothesis and thesis of Bitcoin is true, which again, I still think we have months left of excitement left in this market. I really do. But I just don't see any more price appreciation in Bitcoin. But eventually when things do come crashing and crumbling down, of course, the months of saying the ETF was going to cause inflows, they will say, well, we couldn't have seen this event coming. Nobody saw it coming. On the channel here, we're always forward looking. So when things happen like this, like new people, of course, coming in here and being like, oh, wow, he's just a fudder. He sold at the retracement level. Not here, right? We all knew this, and it's not surprising to any of you. And you guys have been tremendously supportive out there. And I do know it pays dividends in the long run to just take it on the chin for a minute. And that's just just how these things go. And these are always great learning experiences for anybody who's been documenting emotional logs. I hope that you have been documenting this. We talk a lot about the emotional log and tracking what your emotions are. If you were in the depths of despair, if you continued in the depths of despair, if it was like we talked about, where it felt like the weight of the world had been taken off your shoulders upon that break, and then did you experience euphoria? And if you had all that documented, or how you're feeling right now, or is there still some hope and things like that? For those who ignore this, say, yeah, forget that. Now the ETF is great. It's wonderful and everything is fine and dandy. Again, you can just go back and see what happens with Bitcoin each time it goes back into if you're going to keep a bull thesis, right? And that's fine with me. I think it's fair if you want to keep one long-term for Bitcoin. But you go back and you just say, well, what has happened each time it does get back to these 618 retracement levels? It's very, I had the fortunate or unfortunate, it's fortunate learning experience to go through this whole thing with Bitcoin back in 2017 through 2020. And again, this one is the same thing. It gets back to its 618 retracement and completely plunges along. For the last year or two, people were saying, hey, we're doing 2019, we're doing the 2020 stuff. And then again, like I was having a fight against that just recently, everybody screaming, or not everybody, it's a mischaracterization. A large group of people screaming, this is 2019 to 2020. Now we have to go back down to the lows. And the argument was, well, no, that's not true, because if you are going to maintain that thesis that we are going to go back down to the lows, you still need to get back to the 618 retracement level first to in any way appropriately compare 2019 and 2020 to 2022 to 2023. And that required you getting back to the 618 retracement, which we've now gotten back to. So now what happens, it's like, no, yes, we had this theory all along, but we don't have that theory anymore. Okay. Well, then we go back over and you look even back into 2014 through 2016, and you get it right back to the 618 retracement, and then boom, it plunges right back down to back test the support levels. And we know that the price action of Bitcoin has very much mirrored that of 2014 through 2016. So if you want to maintain the bullish stance that, this still is going to ramp up for a year or two to go, if you're going to keep the 4-year cycle theory in your head and you say, the Bitcoin's not going to top until, December of 2025, none of your, if you think it's going to keep shooting up from here, that still doesn't match your hypothesis. If it matches your hypothesis, if you're 2019 to 2020, or that, bam, back down to the lows. But if you are a 4-year cycle theorist, who hasn't gotten through the block reward halving yet, this is your example to reference back to, in that it would go back to backtest support levels. So no matter which way we look at it from, and then on top of that, all the bearish divergences that have emerged in here, along with record-setting sell volume happening at this retracement level, and Grayscale launching at the 702 Fibonacci retracement for its trust. If you think it's going to go beyond here, you're definitely just looking for, you're holding on your hat on a narrative, right? You know what I mean? So to each their own. But I'm just pointing all these things out. And good luck. Good luck. But otherwise, I do think, there's still months of this. There's probably volatility all over the place. And then, eventually there's one more climatic event that eventually happens. I do not know what the climatic event would be. I don't know what the narrative will be. It'll likely be something very similar, where things are epically awesome. And then that's kind of where we go through these things where we're talking about the Fed, because we kind of know how sentiment will be, and we know how the crypto market works in regards to the culture of crypto when it comes to the money printers, memes, QE, infinite money supply, and all that stuff. And that would be the narrative that would definitely, you would think, trigger a lot of excitement in the crypto market once rate cuts do start happening. And so other things we've been paying attention to have been things like CPI, or consumer price inflation, and watching how CPI has been falling throughout the most of the year. We expected it to pause out and really kind of flatten there near that 3%. However, for the next two readings that we get, so when we get a reading in February and then when we get a reading in March, we're going to be canceling out larger numbers from our year-over-year CPI. So currently, year-over-year CPI is 3.4%. However, if we average what we've been doing, and in the next two readings, if we average like a 0.2% month over month, which last month we got 0.3%, the month prior we got 0.1%, it's an average of 0.2. If we continue doing that for the next two readings, so in February and in March, we could see that our year-over-year CPI may be down to about 2.9% by the time we get to March. Well, if we get to 2.9% by the time we get to March, well, what has the Fed's target been? 2%. What did Jerome Powell say in the last meeting? He's saying, we may have to, start cutting before we get to 2% because, we don't want to overshoot the target. So is that going to signal some type of extreme excitement? I wrote about this on Twitter yesterday in response to TXMC. And then I said, well, then what would happen in April? What happens if we see CPI shoot up to 3.5? And so why would I say that could happen for CPI to shoot up to 3.5 there in April? And it's because we would only be canceling out a 0.1% from April of 2023. And not only that, but things that we've monitored here on the channel have been like shipping containers. You guys know that's an industry that I've worked in and tracked in, and there's a lot of forecasting that has to go into that stuff. And we watched holiday sales, and we knew that in September and October, they were not fighting over container space. Containers were like the cheapest they've ever been. Typically in September and October, you see a rise and a trend upward and people fighting over those container spaces. But we did not see that happening this year. And so it seemed that retailers were anticipating that they were not going to be having good holiday sales this year. However, I think it came out that holiday sales were like 8% better than they were the year prior. So not only did it not underperform, it overperformed it. Those types of things in supply chains lead to, you run out of inventory. So they all have to fight over inventory. And so then what do we see? We see shipping container prices rise back up, which is expected because they have to refill all of their inventory. And then so when shipping prices go up, then you got the Red Sea stuff going on at the same time. That almost feels like a narrative to me, like that's scripted and showed up at just the right time because we could see that inflation was going to be returning again. And so like from understanding supply chains and knowing, hey, you're going to place orders, you're going to have inflated shipping costs, and those are not going to hit the market until March, right? Then you have to work that pricing in. That would mean that by the time the April reading comes out, we see inflation moving back up again because now all of that inventory is now hitting the shelves at the higher prices. And so what happens if in April we end up getting, a 3.5% year over year inflation, and then we head over here to the May 1st meeting, and instead of cutting, it actually pauses. And it's like, well, wait a minute, why are we pausing? And then the Fed says, hey, we have inflation returning again. Then the market realizes, oh crap, we have inflation returning back, and we have all this corporate credit that needs to be refinanced, or bankruptcies are going to be happening. And it becomes the big blink moment to recognize the Fed has just been checkmated. They can't raise rates, or they can't lower rates to fight inflation. If they do lower rates, inflation will soar. If they don't lower rates, corporations will crumble. And it just kind of matches the timeline of those events occurring. So over the course of the next couple of months, it'll be about watching, does that CPI drift down to 2.9? Do we then get the event of where the Fed does its first cut there in March because we've hit that 2.9? Everybody says soft landing. We made it. And then we see inflation return back in the April numbers. All of that matches a pretty darn good timeline for the things that I'm seeing. And essentially, it's kind of like, March, April, May, that kind of stuff. So I still think there's time for excitement to return, or excitement to happen in the market. I just don't think we're going to see it in Bitcoin. I think we've reached technical levels, and we have the markers of where interest can run out of steam here for Bitcoin, especially when you get the ETF launch. The ETF is, you look through history, you can scream this time is different all you want. But the fact is, the idea has been to get back to a retracement level. There's an ETF launch at the retracement level, and ETF launches have marked reversals every time. So this time is different. I'm going to bet it's not. So otherwise, send these puppies, send the excitement. And then, of course, there's still some more room left over there in the Dow. There's still some more room for things to get moving. And it just still matches my timelines on all of these things still continuing to play out. There's still just time for the tech sector to just kind of hang out up here and do its thing into distribution. So while I think Bitcoin is topping, or at the minimum just working on its distribution structure, I think there's still plenty of time for excitement to be shuffled all around in here. And that's nothing new. Those are things that I've been writing about in the newsletter over there on blockchainbacker.substack.com. You guys know that none of this is new to any of you, and none of you who watch the channel, none of this is really new to you. Maybe you learned a couple things about CPI and shipping containers today, but shipping normal stuff. So, all right, there you go. Stock market open. Dow doing a little bit better now that it actually is open. It's down only 115 points. The S&P is down 38 points, but the NASDAQ is down 238. So we are seeing about 1/3% for the Dow, 0.8% for the S&P, and then 1.4% over there for the NASDAQ. And biggest winners of the morning are only United Health and GE. Biggest losers today, Roblox, Tesla, ARK, and Caterpillar. Moving over there to gold and silver. They are struggling this morning as the DXY is ramping up. So gold at $2,018, silver at $22.67. So silver's down about a quarter. Or 25 cents, and gold is down almost $10 as the DXY continues its little bit of a march up. And so we watch this stuff happen all the time. We got the bottom. We call the bottom within the day of it happening here. Nobody's really paying attention to the DXY. This is a really interesting phenomenon to always watch when it comes to social media, because you probably haven't seen any posts about DXY being posted anywhere on social media or talked about. But once we start kind of reaching extremes, suddenly everybody's talking about it again and screaming that it's the sky falling and everything like that. So you'll probably start hearing a whole lot more about the DXY just in your feed and on Twitter, and people talking about it a whole lot more in there. You can clearly see that bull divergence, or that's not a divergence. No, I'm wrong. But you could see the strength really continuing to hold supports in here on top of 40, right? In a bull move, you hold on top of 40 in type on the relative strength index. So I still think this thing's going to march. But at the end of the day, hopefully the big events of the market, the euphoria of the market, the push for the Dow up to the 4.236 extension, the altcoins, we'll see what they're capable of doing, happening into a moment just like this. But that the bottom of the DXY is already in. So there we go. Grayscale, we've already covered you. We've already covered all those. Others, we've covered these, right? And so the one thing we're talking, I'm looking over here at others, right? Let's take a look at Chainlink because I was watching this one too. So there you go. Chainlink gets right through the 702. We'll see if that continues to hold. All right, let's go to others. There you go. If you're worried of a correction continuing down further, so like things we've talked about with like the total altcoin market cap, if it continues to march its way up, we can look over here at others. This is in the retracement level. This is where why do I lose you? Where did you go? There you are. It's in the retracement level. And this is where traders will take their shots in here. I was going to use the Chainlink one as an example in there, but it would have taken it out. But you could see that they'll let go in here and wait to see if it does break out and then go. And that's the thing about, and that's why, you know, people get so mad about Bitcoin. Like a normal trader is going to take that 100 times out of 100. They're going to take that. They're going to take profits right in here. 100 out of 100. They will. So if you're worried of a correction continuing down further, you're in those areas of you know, invalidation, right? You can take a shot and then your invalidations here. And that's part of trading. And that's what people don't understand. And I try to explain that it's not about having a 100% probability. It's about taking shots and having probabilities in your favor. So if you're here and you're worried that there is going to be the corrective move that goes down deeper into these levels down in here, this is kind of the area that people would do it at. As for me, I do have 20% cash. I don't know if I will get the chance to distribute that or not, but I sit around waiting to see if that day comes. If that day does come, I will distribute it back in. So, all right. As for everything, I think we've pretty much got it. Bitcoin at 42.8. Total still holding. Ethereum, there you go. It got out. As Bitcoin went down, Ethereum went up. XRP still holding on top of these levels. Literally nothing to say about XRP at this time. Dow Jones still, it's probably closer to 5% now away from the 4.236 extension, and still all these things, just hypothesis building and thesis building in here for the next couple of months on what distribution can look like in here for the stock market, which will then take control over Bitcoin, which is now part of the stock market. There you go. Silver metals are down this morning as the DXY continues moving its way up. We see over there on rate expectations. I think the Fed, some Fed members came out and tried to tame Fed cut expectations yesterday, and that might be why we're seeing a little bit of a shift happening in here. But it'll be interesting to see when we get the next CPI figures. And then again, we always live stream these things. That's in 2 weeks from today. That is on a Wednesday. And we typically have a pretty good time during those things, and they're kind of some of my most watched streams. We've been having pretty decent numbers here in the markets in the morning lately. Our typical numbers are anywhere from 15 to 1,800 people, but right now we're at 2,800. That's because there's a lot going on in the market, so there's a lot more people paying attention to what's actually happening right now. But during these Fed meetings, we typically have a pretty big showing as well. It's typically anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 people who watch that. All right, let's move on over to the news. Bitcoin sees its first ever weekly golden cross. Ooh, the golden cross. You know, the 50-week simple moving average of Bitcoin's price has crossed above the 200-week simple moving average for the first time on record. That is because for the first time ever, Bitcoin did break below its 200-week moving average during 2022. So we, you know, a clear break and hold underneath of it, right? You can see it poked it during COVID, but otherwise below it, it did not. You know, this is the first time that we've seen it really completely close underneath it, right? So is this what it said, the 50? I don't even know. All right. But either way, when it comes to these moving average crosses, just remember, you can even see it right there. That is the death cross, right? So we're talking about, oh, here's the golden cross. Everybody points to these things. They use them in moments of excitement to say, hey, look, we have the golden cross. It means we're going up forever. Just remember, they were calling for the death cross. Just months ago, earlier, let's see, I guess it's 2024 now. Last year in 2023, the death cross has hit. We are doomed now. Of course, everybody's in fear and panic. They're hurting from the market. Here's the death cross. We're doomed. Now, what does price do? It just keeps going up. It doesn't care about that death cross. I personally do not care about a golden cross, which is consistent with me not caring about the death cross when it happened in the depths. Ethereum's Duncan upgrade goes live but fails to finalize on testnet. Sam Bankman-Fried's parents asked court to dismiss FTX's lawsuit seeking to recover funds. USGAO recommendations to SEC before spot Bitcoin ETF approval are revealed. Spot Bitcoin ETF volumes pass insane $10 billion as GPT sales slow. It would be cool if that 10 billion was pushing price up and not down. Otherwise, what do you consider it? Distribution, selling, insider selling, bank selling. Where's okay. I'm not an ETF pro. Okay. I'm not an ETF pro. But do we know what the relationship between BlackRock and JP Morgan is, right? To my understanding, obviously it's a BlackRock ETF, but JP Morgan is named as the authorized participant, which to my understanding means that when they need more Bitcoin, they go to JP Morgan to get it. Is JP Morgan running to spot markets to buy Bitcoin? Or did JP Morgan already have Bitcoin that they're going to sell to the ETF? Because I saw like the post, like I saw Watcher Guru post over there on Twitter saying BlackRock has bought 14 or like 11,000 Bitcoin for its ETF. And it's like, well, no, retail investors have bought 11,000 Bitcoin in the ETF. Who's the one that provided the Bitcoin to them? And JP Morgan is the authorized participant. Is JP Morgan the one selling the Bitcoin, or does JP Morgan have buddies that they all told them ahead of time, hey, we're going to be getting this ETF approved, go ahead and load up on a bunch of Bitcoin because when the time comes, we'll be buying it off of you and we'll be putting it into the ETF. The way I think about it, that doesn't match the they're running to spot markets narrative, right? And that, if we're going to have $10 billion worth of volume, why is price going down? There's got to be distribution. And again, I showed this last week. This is the short ETF. Reversal volume of the short ETF, BITI. And then when we look at it on the daily, you have the classic signatures of reversals as well. You have the highest selling volume of the short ETF, followed by back-to-back biggest buy volume days in the history of the short ETF. So it's not only so I know the narrative gets spun of hey, they're selling BTO, right? They're selling BTO because they're moving it into BlackRock, right? Because you clearly see the reversal volume happening over here for BTO. You see the highest buy volume in history, right? Marked by the biggest sell volume in history. That's what reversals do look like. That's what the volume signature of a reversal is. No. They're selling BTO and they're putting it into BlackRock, right? Okay, but why that? Why do we have the reversal also happening here on the inverse or the short ETF of Bitcoin, that it has the most selling volume in history, followed by back-to-back buying volume of the short? So just reiterating it. I know we're such a narrative-driven group out there that these things have happened, that these things do happen the way they happen. So, okay, I'm done. I succumb to that for the day. We'll be done with that for the day. There you go. Back to the news. Back to the news. Why isn't price going up with insane volume? Okay. Bitcoin ETF guru Eric Bolchanas has the last laugh at doubters with the X Hall of Fame. Okay. Eric has done a really good job, no question, just communicating the steps of what's going on with the ETF. There's no question, but everybody praises him. Hall of Fame. I guess you could say it. He got it right. He did a good job communicating it to everybody. Being a developer for the decentralized web sucks. EU Banking Authority extends. Hey, that's a great way to bring people in. EU Banking Authority extends anti-money laundering guidance to crypto. I think I also saw yesterday there was all that concern about with the IRS which I haven't seen in any of these news things. The IRS, there's the stuff of like if you send $10,000 worth of crypto, you have to report it to the IRS within 15 days. Then that has stopped. That's not the case anymore. Avalanche inscriptions saw, Avalanche inscriptions draw record user interest amid BRC20 hype. Bitcoin defends key price level 6 times, is 44K next. Alex Mashinsky seeks dismissal of 2 charges, asks court not to mention Celsius bankruptcy. Grayscale Bitcoin Trust ETF transfers another $376 million in Bitcoin as price stabilizes in Bitcoin. Spot Bitcoin ETF custody versus exchange custody. What's the difference? Yeah, okay. Financial news. Home builder sentiment improves for second straight month following a drop in mortgage rates. Look at this big old Grayscale ad right here. They're like, come buy it off of us. We need more exit liquidity. We're dumping. We need someone to come buy. Okay. Jamie Dimon warns all these very powerful forces will impact the U.S. economy in 2024 and 2025. And he says, I'm done talking about Bitcoin. I don't care. Dow futures fall 200 points for a third day of declines as yields continue climbing. And retail sales rise 0.6% in December, topping expectations for holiday shopping. Dude, that's what we were just talking about. JP Morgan to hire this year on wealth and deal-making revival. Talking about bank. Hey, man, you guys see Spirit Airlines yesterday. Their stock dropped like 70% yesterday. Safe. What, isn't that what it was? Was it Save? S-A-V-E. Save. JP Morgan to hire this year on wealth and deal-making revival. New banks, 176% surge back CEOs drive to poach clients from rivals. CFA level 2 pass for this Fed's bank. Who cares about that? I don't understand that. All right. Davos Live. Dalio notes climate projects need to make money. Stocks drop as solid economic data lifts U.S. yields and markets wrap. U.S. retail sales rise by the most in 3 months in cap holidays. Wow, funny this is on the crazy. The biggest gains were in clothing, general merchandise stores, and e-commerce. So yeah, we've talked about this when all that Red Sea stuff started showing up. It was like, well, how ironic all of that shows up because we already know retailers totally missed. They had better than expected holiday sales, and they're going to be running to buy up container space already. So, okay, there you go. That's it. No huge news in there except JP Morgan going out there and saying Bitcoin is a pet rock and it doesn't do anything. So blockchain is real. Bitcoin's a pet rock. To be fair, that's consistent messaging from Jamie Dimon. That's what he typically always does say, and he has said that for years on end. But otherwise, price is just kind of stable today. Nothing huge going on out there. Put it back on the daily. There you go. Daily time frame. I haven't even noticed that we were below a moving average. There you go. Bitcoin is below the 50-day moving average. There you go. And we just kind of sit here chilling, waiting for price to do something. If you don't know, we've just been stuck in here since Friday, right? So the ETFs launched, totally did not go to moon as it was foretold by a lot of stuff, and price has really just been stuck in this range since the ETFs since Friday. So just kind of waiting for a direction to happen in here for Bitcoin for a move. If I had to just make my absolute best guess of the move on a short-term time frame, which I'm not a fan of guessing short-term time frames, but something that would be consistent with an accumulation or distribution schematic would be that we actually do end up pulling up a little bit, and then finally we do go on and hit the lower levels. And then that is where we just kind of stand for some time, waiting for whatever event will show up in here to create one more push of excitement, one more thing of YOLO. And where, remember we even talked about it, that like once we got here, the bears would be chastised. You remember that? When we would get up to the retracement levels, that's where the bears will be chastised. And they will be here. They will be here. if that even ends up coming, which I obviously haven't banked on it with Bitcoin, but I'd give it a good shot. That is the move that happens in there. Typically, we'll see stuff like that. Typically, kind of double tops that end up happening in here, and we're just kind of waiting on that. But that would be my best guess. And so it's kind of a lull moment right now, waiting for price to do something. This is what I'm looking for. And so if we can get something like that, then we can go ahead and start being moon boys on the other sector of the market. Otherwise, we're just kind of in a hold period here for a minute. So, all right, that's it. There you go. Everything still just continues to hold in here. Totally the same story as yesterday. Differences today is just, again, reiterating all of the stuff over there with GBTC. The ETFs all launched on that day, guys. Magical Unicorn Fairy Dust, Puppet Masters pulling the puppet strings, God or his simulation. You explain it to me. That is when it launched. You can't script it better unless if they're watching my YouTube videos reading the script. All right. We'll shift on. I'll go ahead and hop into the chat and we'll see what you guys have to say. Chris in Aquamal. In Mexico, we speak of the legend of El Goto. Viva BCB. Thank you very much, Chris. And then he followed it up with a hooking up a BCB membership. Thank you very much, brother. X Wadapak X says, love from Singapore. Thank you very, very much. Rick Dirks. Oh, wait a minute. What am I doing? I do want to hop into the chat. But something more important has come up that we have to address.
It is Wednesday, my dude. It is Wednesday, my dude. It is Wednesday, my dude. It is Wednesday, my dude.
There we go. I will not play another frog until we have 1,000 likes, but I'll play it right when we get to 1,000. Rick Dirk says, do you own Sia coin? What are your targets? Okay. I've called this the Dingus coin. And yeah, I do have some, and I've had it for a very long time in a wallet put away. I've been surprised to see how well it's been doing. Let me see. I don't know. Don't go running by this thing, guys. It's literally dead. Okay. It's literally dead. But if there's market makers working it or something, God bless them. But it's, same concept. You're already up in here. You're into April of 2022. There should be concerns in here until the rest of the market can prove, till the altcoin market can prove it can get out of there. The problems, the struggle areas that we have seen for everything, like what we just saw for Bitcoin, what we've seen Solana, this level has been the problem in here, and various other altcoins have all struggled all throughout these areas. So in this time right now, it's kind of any man's guess on the current levels that it's at. You're in April of 2022. You've seen all the things reject from April of 2022. And this is where, Bitcoin and Solana have gotten to right in here. So hopefully we see a lot of altcoins start to prove they can get through there. If they can get through there, oh gosh, the problem with this thing is that it's develop wise, this thing is dead, right? There's nothing going on with it, which is unfortunate. It's kind of in that same camp of with Filecoin, decentralized storage. I like the whole idea of decentralized storage, and I cheer for Sia Coin because I've had this old bag. But yeah, otherwise, I'm hoping $1 million. That would be great. Luke thinks, boy, I'm mispronounced. Let me try it again. I can't do it, Luke. Luke T. It is Wednesday, my dudes. Hit the like button. Thank you, Luke. Summit Comedy. For the previous bull run, what was the total length of time from the previous Bitcoin retracement to XRP all-time high? 23 days, I think. You can correct me if I'm wrong. It took 23 days for the whole bull run to happen. Went from 22 cents or 20 cents, maybe 19 cents to $3.40, $3.50 in 23 days. Kushav Lakshman, if BlackRock bought at 16K, why would they go through so much pain to create a Bitcoin ETF and then dump on retail for a mere 3x profit? Just wondering. Well, we're retail investors, and so we're greedy gamblers, right? That's a lot of money to make in a year on an asset, right? In legacy land, that's a tremendous amount. Secondly, you have to think to yourself, did they buy at 16K or have they had this stuff since 3, 4, 5, 6, 7K? Right? And that this is how they're going to distribute for several months. Let's see, do I still have this open? This is one of those things too, which is it's not out of control yet in any way. It's from Glassnode. That we saw wallets with greater than 10 distributing real early, into the whole excitement, right? So when retail is really excited, these wallets are selling and distributing, right? And so we can see here, I wonder if it'll let me put a line over the top. That would be so dope. Okay. You can see right here to put it on top. Yes. No. Okay. But if I hold it like that, it will. Pay attention to that right there, right? You could see this is definitely where the wallets with greater than 10 start to really go into real accumulation, right? So they're like, hey, we're selling it all to you. We get up in here. They're like, yeah, we're not. I guess there's some interest, but not a ton. Boom, they go really back into accumulation here. And you can see the phase at which they start. When do they start? Right at the absolute selling climax. What's also interesting about that right there, so like, I'll move this over here real quick. They know to start buying here, right? The bigger wallets know to start buying here, and you can see that is where the trend really goes in here. They don't care. Pre-FTX collapse, they're like, these are the levels we're buying and we're going with. FTX collapses, what do? Give it to us. We'll take it. And they just ramped it up. Look at that. They went back to pre-bull run numbers in the FTX collapse before the price even came up off of the lows. So, right, we've looked at this stuff before. But what's also interesting about that, like if you, I'm just going to shift it over here so I can have date. No, it's not going to do it. Hold on. Go back. There we go. On our chart, right? So like that's that bottom right there, right? Where is that on here? Don't worry, I'll figure this out at some point. There we go. I'll take everything off. That's right here, right? They start buying and accumulating for real on that collapse right there. When that collapse is done, they say, give it. What is retail here? They're panicked. And what do you get offered? How would you like to short Bitcoin? The Bitcoin short ETF gets launched here because retail is totally getting washed out at this moment right in here. But what's happening with the bigger wallets? They're saying, give it to me. I'll take it, right? And they keep going. FTX collapse, they keep going. Look how high they are during this whole time period while everybody is utterly terrified. All in here. The wallets with greater than 10 Bitcoin go and swallow it all back and grab it all in here while everybody's scared. Then as price just kind of continues grinding up, they're buying slowly, much slower than they were. Now, suddenly we have our first change here, right? There's a change happening in here. Like we've seen changes happening before. And it's not until, retail gets real excited and they're like, we're ready to buy again. They're on the opposite side of it. So I don't know. Like I said, it's not like it's massive aggressive like it was back in here yet. But there's unquestionably a trend change in here. They're distributing. They're selling into this stuff right in here. It's not like what they were doing, right? Just another thing that, maybe we'll look back on one day and say, yeah, that there was signs happening right there in that data. But yeah, I could totally see. And remember, it's not BlackRock, right? Like if JP Morgan is the authorized participant, it could be coming from JP Morgan or JP Morgan's buddies. They're, them. They're the ones providing it, right? Nikolay Valchinov, and I will reiterate, I am not an ETF expert and could be making myself sound like a total dummy on how the authorized participant works. But from the reading that I've been trying to do and my understanding, it is JP Morgan's responsibility to get that stuff over there to BlackRock. The question is, where does it come from? And that's where everybody's disagreement is at. And that's why the Bitcoiners say they're going to run to spot market and buy it all up. Really, I just doubt that. I really doubt JP Morgan wasn't prepared and had things all lined up. And then and that they also knew they were going to get approved and years ago, prepped for it. And this is distribution for them. But 200% is a really good thing for a bank of that size in a year. Nikolay, in my opinion, the sideways action is shaking a lot of people out of the market. And there are a lot of mixed emotions. Yesterday, Fear and Greed Index was 52, and today was 60, and last week was 76. Yeah, let's go look at it. I have not looked at it since last week. I'm seeing a different number than you're seeing. Oh, wait. What did you say? Today's 60. Okay, yeah. So we're in like light greed. Still optimism. Let's go back and we'll look at 3 month. There you go. You can see the dip. The dip down in fear and greed. The thing is, and the thing that's hard. So, the narrative is certainly going to just shift to block reward halving, and you already know I've got it. I'm already lined up with my ammo of research to be like, that's silly. But again, when you have an aggressive move like that, let's go back and look. When have we seen a move of this caliber? Really, in the last several months. Right? Like you've got that one. Otherwise, your only other comparable moves really are this one and this one right in here. And you're just, after that type of move, you're going to end up seeing things. And then when you get beyond the event horizon, the event was being sold as retail institutions have all of their financial advisors lined up. They have their phones ready. They're going to be calling people, and people are going to be YOLOing their 401ks into Bitcoin. And the banks, and we have front run the banks, and the banks totally are going to have to run to the spot market to buy up all the Bitcoin, right? It's not true, right? The price has gone down since the launch of the ETF. Sentiment is going to certainly change, and especially if it dips down even further, which I suspect it will. I think there could be a bounce a little bit higher, but I think we're going to dip lower. And should we do it, you'd probably see confusion hit a little bit harder. Just all these things don't match the narrative of what was sold, right? The narrative was sold differently for Bitcoin. Oh, we hit 1,000. I said I'd play the frog for you the second we hit it. There you go. 1,002.
It is Wednesday, my dude. It is Wednesday.
Alrighty. Let's keep going. All right. Yeah, I would think a lot of mixed emotions, right? So because what you have to know about like what happens in markets, and it happens all the time, whether you're experienced or not experienced, but it happens to different levels of it. you get a really big dopamine rush. And we talk about this a lot, that your brain is being hit real hard. And like there's scientific studies talking about investors and traders and the dopamine rushes that happen and then the dopamine crashes that end up happening, and that they're real. They do happen to people. And it's like you're getting just pumped full of a drug, and then suddenly you go cold turkey on the drug, and then you become real angry, upset, and mad, and that's just how it ends up going. At leading up to that, there was probably a lot of people running real high on dopamine and feel good chemicals being released from their brain, and then things suddenly changed really quick, right? Please help us find Oscar. Where is Oscar? All right. He's usually the first in line here. All right, moving on. Simple Valen, will you change your macro view if total 3 isn't even back at retracement levels around the first rate cuts, like ADA? Well, no, not first rate cuts, right? So we have examples to go back and look at rate cuts to see that, at least in the last 20 years, we can go a little while beyond the rate cuts. Just because we get through one doesn't necessarily mean it's lights out. How many did we have in 2019, right? I think there's like 3. There was 3 before it ended up happening. But it knows that we're getting really, really close, and like having to look for it to show up at the last second. And that's when you find the confluence all at one time. And like this was kind of that thing that happened here with Bitcoin, to find that confluence all at the exact same moment. It just shows up in a blink of an eye in 1 second. Boom, there's all the confluence events happening together. There's a reversal volume. There's confluence of different assets hitting particular levels at particular times, or like GBTC at different times. And that typically when these events happen, these are marks of reversals, right? And so like that's the thing, like when this ETF is launched right here, it's not launched at the literal peak, but it's launched right here into the final ending. Where is it? Beto? Right? So Beto, you can just see where it gets launched at. It gets launched here, right? And then it's over, right? And so like you go and you look at where's all this stuff launched at? Right here, right? So just looking for a confluence of events, and that's something I'm definitely on my mind. And there of course is a chance that it is like, wait a minute, all the confluences are happening all at once, all right now. Actions being taken. It's always possible, right? But right now, I don't see those confluence of events to sit there and be like worrying about that right now. But I mean, it's possible total 3 just gets back to the retracement levels, right? So we have to see if there's other confluences happening at the exact same time. Like if the Dow is hitting the 4.236 extension, and if like Bitcoin is like right here, and it's like done this, we just spent months in here, right? We just spent months in here. Bitcoin's here. It's done something like this. All right. Something like Bitcoin's there. Dow is right there. NASDAQ is also right there, right? It's right there. And then total 2, total 3, whatever, they're all right here. Yeah, I mean, that is what it is. Andy Philpott, brother, gifted 5 BCB memberships. Thank you, man. I was wondering where you are. We're missing some people today. Where is Oscar? I saw Eric post that. Snoopy IRL, member for 2 months. I hit a milestone. You did. Congrats. Thank you. Bakmed TV. Do you take profit on the 702 if XRP rises for $1.50 range? XRP is a longer term investment for me. There's certain stuff like, for example, like with my Bitcoin, I still own the 35% that I've had from the bottom of the 2018 bear. It's just long-term stuff for me, right? XRP has been in that bucket of long-term stuff for me that if it goes, it's got to go into all-time highs. I'm not day trading around with that one. But it doesn't mean it's not the wrong decision. Like if you're up, dude, your investment thesis, your situation is totally different from my situation. Do whatever is right for you. And there's nothing dumb about doing it. There's nothing dumb about getting to a retracement level and saying, you know what? There's a lot of bearish divergences emerging in here. There's a lot of things of concern in here. There's a lot of confluences and activities that are happening elsewhere to say there's problems here. I'm going to take some off the table here. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Do whatever you want. Like right now, watch this. We're going to tell the narrative. We're going to tell the story. I suspect we will see Ethereum get back up to these levels. Right now, do you see extreme euphoria on Ethereum over there on Twitter right now? No, it's a ghost town on Ethereum right now, just like it was for Bitcoin, right? But once we got back to the retracement levels, it becomes euphoria and excitement and everything. And then you say, I'm selling it. And people are like, no, you're an absolute dummy. Right now, it's a ghost town for Ethereum. But when we get back up in here, I'm going to sell some. I'm going to put some in my pocket, right? Like I loaded up in here after FTX. So like cost basis of accumulation in 2022 is like $12.50. I'm going to take enough money off the table to pay off for all of that. And that means I only have to sell about a third of it. So if I sell about a third of it, I get all my money back, and then I just ride my Ethereums off into the sunset, whichever way they go, hopefully absolutely skyrocketing. That would be absolutely lovely. But I'm definitely going to sell some here, but I'll be attacked for it. Right now, if I said I'm going to sell a little bit of Ethereum, nobody would care. But the narrative will change. The excitement level will change once we get closer to here, and this is where retail goes bananas. And so getting back, in your questions about XRP, you get back to retracement levels. If you want to take action at them, there's literally nothing wrong with doing it. Ben, how likely is an alt season before Bitcoin goes to Goblin Town in the next few months? Well, you're looking for a percentage. I don't have a percentage for you. I show you the different things on the charts, right? You see the Bitcoin dominance. You see the divergences. You see all that different stuff happening in there. Hopefully, look at all this selling. First time since September and October of 2021. Hopefully soon, right? Hopefully soon. And hopefully that's our markers showing up in there. As you can see, different from what we've had for 2.5 years. We're crossing. Things are happening. So, what are the percentages? I don't know what the percentages are. Are we setting up for similar behavior? Are we back in the retracement levels? Has this been my thesis all along? Yeah. My thesis has been the altcoins run and Bitcoin retrace. We're getting into retrace and we're seeing the dominance starting to really act as if things are about to start going. So what's the percentages? I don't know. Hopefully high. Champ is the name. Member for 8 months. BCB, your haters are currently watching you on their shadow ninja accounts, wondering what the heck this frog thing is, and this is a real TA guy. Yeah, for sure. Like this guy is just a joker. This guy is just a troll. Yeah, for sure. Wednesdays we do have a great time. Well, during the depths of despair, it helped us get through it. Right. It kept Wednesdays lively. It made you look forward to something in the middle of the week. Eric Martinson, my brother, he says it. Where is Oscar? Please help us find Oscar. Yeah, where is Oscar? Is he not in the chat either? He said, Deepest Jane says, hey, BCB, thanks for all your support. I wanted to know if you see a new high for Mina or just a retrace, and what is the 4.236 extension for Mina? I don't know. So Mina, it's when you look at the developer report on Electric Capital, it is one of the ones that is doing better. They have, by the way, if you don't know this, so you guys get to learn this because I like to drop a little bit more like secret stuff later into the stream because we're an hour and 4 minutes. There's all those people who are just like, I'm out of here. I'm not going to listen to the chat. Pay attention. Let's have a chat here for a second. Developer report, right? We talk about that a lot. Right? These guys, they're the ones who release all the stuff on what's going on in the market. They only release stuff once a quarter. And so we haven't gotten an update since October 18th, which tomorrow will be a whole quarter ago. Not only that, but every year they put out annual reports. And so we're waiting for any minute now that we will get the annual report written. So this is just a quarterly report, but they do annual reports. See, look at that. They released that one January 17th, 2023. What is today? January 17th, 2024. So keep your eyes peeled for this because I'm going to bet like just this should, right? Like there's 186 slides in here, right? Where they're giving you all the stuff going on with, and let's see, where do you have it? Right? So like you can look at all these ranges in here and they're going to show you like you get like dot plots and stuff where it shows you like which ones are like growing and full-time devs, like who's really outside of the range of growth and then like who's dying out in here. So rather than going through all those charts and having to do it, like I do Excel sheets and everything like that. I'm going through hand, but they create these nice infographics and stuff like this to show who's doing well and who's doing really bad. And it's been 1 year, and I know it. It's got to be coming out any day that this report's coming out because that's 1 year ago today. And it's been a quarter since they've released a report. So I'm looking forward to this thing coming out. So you guys, you late watchers, keep your eyes peeled on the developer report by Electric Capital. Again, I'm not sponsored by these guys, and I don't even think they sell a product. I think this is just free data that they offer. I don't think maybe they sell something. I have no clue. I never see anything for sale on their website. It's always just free data. So this will be available hopefully any day. I haven't DM'd them. I should probably DM them, but like, yo, what's going on? Because they will reply to me, which is cool. Okay, your question was Mina, right? Okay, yeah. But that's why, because Mina doesn't show up on like the sentiment stuff too high. I haven't really looked at for Mina much. Let's go this one. I just tried to look at it on Coinbase, but you don't have a complete picture chart on there. So let's go to CoinTrader Pro, which is a trick if you guys don't know that. Teach you about that over here on blockchain or BC Backer on bcbacker.com, where you can learn how to use CoinTrader Pro and TradingView. If you go to CoinTrader Pro, you get the full picture rather than like if you use like if we go look for Mina or something, we look for it on here. I just have so much going on. You know, it gets listed on Coinbase on April 7th of 2022. So we only get the data here from them since then. But otherwise, I mean, that looks pretty good. This looks like a normal bottoming structure of like things before they get nuts. Man, this reminds me of like what Verge looked like. Hold on. It's funny how your brain can pull out weird stuff when you've been doing this for so long. Let's go to 4 hours. And so you kind of just throw back and I don't know, man. Might be something good. I don't have any, but might be something good. Where are we? Here. So, you know, you go to use CoinTrader Pro just because that's where you're going to get the whole data. You could see it comes into existence here in June of 2021. Things with these, right? Like this will be interesting to pay attention to, right? So we know if we mark the top here, the top comes in November 11th of 2021. And it has not exceeded the 236. So now we can go look at Mina on a market cap perspective. Totally different story, right? So Mina has dealt with inflation, massive inflation, and Mina actually just hit its all-time, almost hit its all-time. Let's take it off of log scale to give the true perspective. Exceeds all fib levels here on its market cap. So, you see a different picture over here when you look at it from the market cap perspective of Mina. So Mina's dealt with a lot of inflation over the course of the last few years. And that goes to show you why looking at these things are important in here. If you're picking out like price targets on a chart, if you're going to have a problem with stuff that's going to have high inflation, which is what we've been writing about in the newsletters and stuff too, is that just this gets impacted so much. Like for an equivalent price for Mina, it would have been like price had already gotten to right 575, 300. It was like a 350% rise. So what has where does it get hammered the most? It gets hammered here in 2022 with inflation. In 2022, the inflation rate is 135%. And so that's where it gets pounded. Right? Inflation rate slows down and slows down. It looks like, is that a 6-month period right there? May to November. So the inflation rate's closer to about 23% right now. But obviously that inflation impacted the actual chart. So it's a little bit more of a difficult read. But, just structurally, I do see something familiar. It'd be an interesting thing to watch. We'll see how that goes. But like if you're just going to go off of the actual price chart, just recognizing that you do have those issues when it comes to the market cap, that it's already gotten way back up there. And right, that's not the same story over here and here. But like and so we could just do this too. Where would it put you at, right? If you got up there, is it unreasonable to think 19x? What is the market cap of, we'll say 20x just for simplicity. If the market cap 20x'd from right here, what would that put the market cap at? About 27 billion. So it's not that 27 billion is outrageous. As a matter of fact, it's actually kind of okay because, it doesn't like put you in the top 10 or anything. But it gets you to where you don't like go overthrowing XRP, Solana, or BNB, but you kind of go past everything for a brief moment in time and then come crumbling back down to the ground. Maybe, but I don't know what Mina does. So don't listen to me on thinking that it's probable in any way. But definitely it's on top of supports. It's been a long time coming. And it's one of those ones on developer report that shows growing developer full-time devs. So, okay, that's enough. And the point of spending all this time on this was not to talk about Mina. It was actually just kind of teach you about some thought exercises when it comes to going and checking on circulating supply. And if you're looking at these coins, you're kind of like, I wonder if this one can go to like this crazy target of a 4.236 extension. But then saying to yourself, well, wait a minute, this thing has been inflated away so terribly for so long. I don't. It's hard to know if that's probable at this point, and that's one thing we write about a lot in these newsletters that I've done, where we focus on developer data. Like we just talked about, Mina is one of those ones that developer report, Electric Capital shows as high developer, full-time developer growth. But then having to look at other things too, like what's the percentage drawdown that has happened to the asset, and then what is the inflation rate like? The negatives that it has is the inflation rate. When it comes to Mina. So that's the only thing. That would be alerting to me. All right, Senor Bitcoin. But that's a good thought exercise for anything you're looking at, guys. Snoopy IRL says, I'm dealing with the dopamine of crypto and ADHD. It is the worst. However, journaling and meditation is the key, I think. Right on, man. Thank you very much, Snoopy. Whiskey Dog 6. Hey, BCB, would you know, hey, BCB, would know how many tokens were in circulation at XRP's all-time high when it ran up in that 2023 day period, and do you think that plays into a factor into TA? Yeah, we talk about that all the time. We talk about just like the thought experiment we just did over there with Mina, looking at the total market cap and how that's influenced by circulating supply and inflation, right? Absolutely. And that's where like a lot of the lies of XRP are saying that it has Ripple's just dumping them on the market. It's at a rate, the circulating supply increases at a rate of 7% annually. And so we spend time on here and we do that with the market cap. If you were to use only market cap only and not pay attention to the total circulating supply and do what you saw with Ethereum, do what you saw with the Bitcoin, Ethereum Classic, etc., where you just go to a 4.236 extension just based on the market cap alone of XRP, not factoring any of the tokens. And then if you factor in inflation, you factor in all that stuff, what would the price of an XRP token be worth if the market cap hit a 4.236 extension? And like we showed yesterday, if it were to happen today, it'd be like $9.75 per token based on the inflation that has already happened over the course of the last 6 years. There you go. But so yeah, it does play a factor. Brr. Hey BCB, I've been following since 2020 and I've learned a lot since. I was curious on how you first found out about fib extensions and then decided they were such a great tool to read market structures. From Alex. Thank you, sir. Like anything, I spend a lot of time in here playing with all the different tools. And like in my early days, I used to spend a lot of time on TradingView ideas. So if any of you have TradingView accounts, there's sections in there that are ideas, right? I saw all these people using all these different tools and all these different things, and it was like, okay, and trying to apply all these different things. And like, then you realize 99% of the ideas that are posted on TradingView are just complete trash. They're just some dude in the basement and they have no clue what's going on. And most of the tools don't really give you any insights. But then, which ones were consistently having the best reactions? Which ones were having the highest probabilities of working out? And like we always say, there's literally no tool that's going to give you a 100% hit rate. But what one gives you the highest hit rates that I've recognized? And it's the fibs. And I just kept playing with them and playing with them and playing with them. And then it's just like, holy crud. Why does the market turn over every time we get to the 4.236? Why does the market turn over every time we get to the 702 or 618? And it just kept happening over and over and over again. And that's really it. It's spending 7 years in this market, watching all the things that have worked, all the things that have failed, and all of those things happening thousands of times. You build up just a arsenal of opinions on which one works the best. And that has been the one that has worked. And I've even said this, like, you could take away every single tool from me and only give me fibs and I'll be okay. And we'll find out. We'll find out if that's true with how much, moving averages and whatever they all are, whatever all these things are. Bull, bear, regressional, blah, blah, blah. Like, right? Okay. How about we just get back to a retracement level and that was it? What if it's that simple? Cruz corrected me. 977. There we go. Oh, not 977. It's 975. Okay. Yeah. So just lots of experience and lots of just seeing it happen so many times, the reactions that happen at those things. So it really, the things that sparked it the most for me is it was something I was playing with at the peak of the 2017 bull run a lot. I guess I had identified it pretty well halfway through 2017. And so when we got to the 2017 bull run, I was using it on various assets. I was getting it on XRP. Truth be told, I did sell the top of XRP in 2017. Problem is, I bought it back at $1, and then it was a long ride after that. And with Ethereum, I sold the peak of Ethereum in 2017 and 18, and one of the big ones back then was Neo. Sold the peak of that one too, and it was all just Fibonacci play to make all of that happen. And then when it came into the retracement game, really focused on retracements in there, and like with Bitcoin in 2018, the 702 retracement marked the things, and that was like a confluence event that was happening there. That we talk about, like when you have things like you have Neo, you have Ethereum and XRP all hitting like these 4.236 extensions. And at the exact same time, you have Bitcoin at the 702 retrace. There was like, okay, wait a minute. There's like these multiple factors all happening at once. And sometimes like your brain just recognizes it. Boom, it's happening right now. It's happening today. Which is just like what we ended up seeing over there with the launch of the ETFs, with Grayscale hitting its 702 retracement, Bitcoin hitting its 618 retracement, all these things, and they just kind of show up all of a sudden all at one day. And but it's always fibs. Again, take away everything, and this becomes nothing but a Fibonacci retrace YouTube channel. I'll be fine. We'll do fine. But yeah, just lots and lots of time. Burr also says, or Alex also says, I'm curious if you keep up with Ray Dalio's thoughts on the world markets. You both break down the markets in different ways, but I feel like your views are heavily, feel like your views align heavily, at least at this moment in time. No, I haven't gone too deep into it. Like everybody probably, I've seen the hour-long ad that he runs on YouTube explaining it and it's an ad for his book. I do have his book. It sits on my nightstand. I just haven't read it yet. So I did buy it. It worked on me. I just haven't read it yet. I'm getting through Atomic Habits right now. And once I'm done with that, we'll probably move on to that one. But thank you, Burr, Alex. Anthony Trujillo says, you are doing the Lord's work. Thank you for your course. I've learned a lot, and hit the like button if you love puppies and kittens. There we go. Thank you very much, Anthony. And then he followed it up with gifting a BCB membership. Guys, thank you very much. Whiskey Dog 6 says, hit the like button so we can get DJ BCB. That's your 10th. There we go. 10th super on live stream. Thank you very much. All right, guys. There we go. That's what we got going on in the market today. Everything is still just kind of steady as it has been throughout the weekend. After the ETFs ended up launching, I'm just kind of chilling out there. We can look at I don't think we've looked at the ETFs today, have we? They're all red again. Red ETFs. No way. Okay. We'll get you guys the frog one more time. We'll go out on epic speed. Before we do, again, of course, guys, if you're looking for stuff to do today, you could check out the newsletter over here or check out bcbacker.com for more videos from me. These, of course, are not as froggy. And the nice thing about these, they're edited, so it's all the laughing is out of there, all the breathing and nose sniffling and stuff. I know I've gone back and listened to some of them, so you can hear my nose sniffling in some of the live streams, and it's kind of like, oh man, that's something that would never make its way into a video. That'd be edited in half of a second. But it's winter time, and that's just kind of the stuff that comes with it. But you can check out bcbacker.com, check out the newsletters for all the most glorious content ever in the history of all time. And the most recent one was just posted there a couple of days ago, talking about the profile, the volume stuff that has happened here as this retracement level has been hit. Of course, there's all that stuff in there about developer activity, developer data, and crafting portfolios from 2021 to show how that stuff was much better to focus on than focusing on like the top 20 by market cap or whatever the next coin being shilled to you on Twitter is. There is metrics you can look at that did have a better performance in 2021. Then we take a look here at 2024 to see what coins match all those criteria right now. That's available over here on blockchainbacker.substack.com. And you could check that out with a link in the chat. There's a link in the description of the live video. And of course, bcbacker.com. Otherwise, as we get ready to see our way out of here, we'll hit you with the fast frog, and then we'll catch you guys tomorrow.
It is Wednesday, my dudes. It is Wednesday. Dudes.
Alrighty, that is it, everybody. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could, oh wait, Anthony gifted 5 BCB memberships, brother. Thank you. And there you go, guys. If your name turned green in there's a bunch of hookups today. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. If you could, please like this live stream and give it a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice, and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.